Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's take care of administrative stuff. How many of you have both permission forms signed and ready to give to me? How many of you have the photo consent form signed and ready to give to me? How many of you had the form yesterday? You still again, you're missing one teacher because they were sick yesterday or absent yesterday. And you can get the form to me tomorrow. Okay, I repeat one more time. Chris, wait, you've already got the form underway. You've been asking the teachers, and I'm not that worried about you, truth be told, because you just need to fill in that last one. For those of you who have totally forgotten, you better get on it, because otherwise I will send you home on Monday. I mean, send you home, I'm going to send you back to school. Okay, let me get some more copies of the permission form. And who else needs? Raise your hands. Raise your hands if you need. Raise your hands if you need. Okay, 1 and 2, shop it around, starting next period. Shop it around, starting next period. Okay. Okay. Okay, let me collect. Okay, folks, real quick. Let me collect. Done ones that are done. Hand them to me, por favor. Handing me forms that are finished, forms that are ready, forms that are ready. Forms that are ready. Forms that are ready.
The back of mine. The back of mine is like.
Oh, is that, but those are signatures?
Yeah.
Okay, that's why I asked you to raise your hand. Okay. Okay. One more time. Who here needs a form? Raise your hand. Okay. 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 Ladies and gentlemen, let's do the following. Can I trade you? I'm going to trade you your paragraph last night in which you basically you figured out Schenck and you figured out New York Times versus US and you came to some conclusions. Should the school newspaper be allowed to print up that article in which, you know, the very stellar teacher here figured out how to make a bomb out of recycled textbooks, chalk, and dietary coke. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me send out the following, and homeworks, just flow them down the row, please, and let me send out the following. Send them on down. Send them on down. Homework's on down the road. They're going to feel it. This is me. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this chart here is a chance to sort of just, let's see if we can pull together a whole variety of concepts and then see how it's going to feed into the hypothetical I gave you. And here's basically the guts of the chart here. And just one quick reminder, very, very seldom are you going to see somebody arrested, convicted, and say, you said bad things. Your speech was illegal. Your speech was dangerous. What's more likely to happen, you looked at last night, Terminiello. Terminiello, the subtle details of the case, I mean, this guy had 500 people inside this auditorium, whipped up into a frenzy about how bad Jews are and how bad Catholics are. And outside, you had an even bigger crowd pissed off at him, and you're looking at a real problem here. So they arrest him, what? Disturbing the peace, inciting a riot. In other words, you got a hostile audience. I want to just pull together all these different strands today And it's going to be a lot of stuff in here, so strap on your seatbelt. It's going to be a quick ride. It is. Yesterday, I gave you the following. We started off with the mobster. Mobster Kahn, Lieutenant Olo, take care of Neil. So, let's figure this one out real quick. What? Take care of Neil. Okay, in this situation, does anybody really doubt what I mean by this? Who's the speaker? The speaker right here is a mobster. And who is my audience? I have an audience of one. My hitman. Okay, and what's the big picture? Let's face it, we have an ongoing relationship in which I tell him to go whack people, and he goes out and he whacks people. And I say it again. He's not a stranger to me. This is pretty clear. Now, yesterday I went crazy in telling you all about the wonders of free speech and how it would be wrong if we let people who would say Osama bin Laden is a good guy and we shut them down. And I went on and on about how, dissent is important. And we really need not to shut down speech, but open it up. The Nazis want to have a Martian Skokie. Option one, shut them down. Option two, you know what? Let's just have a counter demonstration across the street. And then the photos will show, 8 scraggly, skanky Nazi guys and 5,000 good middle-class people, families, all saying Nazis are bad and free speech wins. Does that work in this little mobster scenario? In walks Alex and he says, "Oh, Mr. Hitman, maybe we should talk about whether you're going to kill this person or not." Probably not going to really help you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is not going to help. Is this a clear and present danger? Should we ask Neil? Oh, sorry, Neil's dead. Okay, let's be very clear. This first one, and by the way, it's not a hostile audience. We got ourselves a nice, receptive, obedient audience. Clear and present danger, yes, sir, and that one's pretty clean. I purposely then threw you another one. And again, basically, folks, I just want to role model this analysis, just sort of this approach. Take them step one by one by one by one by one, apply it to the situation, and then we'll work it through, and then we'll see, does it work for the chalk bomb, and then I get another hypothetical to throw you today. Hypothetical number 2. A crazy teacher named Kahn, in a class for First Amendment topics being taught, says, go out and kill Joe Biden. Well, the speech is pretty clear. That's not vague. I said kill. But I'm goofy. I'm a teacher. And let's see, you are students. How many of you own guns? Good answer. Good answer. Did you do it? Jesus. It's scary. Okay. Okay. Duck. Okay. Look, what is the likelihood of you guys actually having the wherewithal to act upon it? Even if you did believe me, what's the wherewithal likelihood you are going to go out, obtain a gun, go down to Washington, D.C., seek out Joe Biden, get past Secret Service, and kill the guy? I mean, it's seen as obviously you know that I'm joking. And it's also unrealistic. It's not going to happen. And the nice thing is that what about that little more speech? He suddenly jumps up and says, Mr. Kahn, I like Joe Biden. Let's not kill him. We have a little bit more speech, and maybe I change my mind. Maybe I decide we should kill Key instead. But that's the thing. It would help. And okay, so we have a clear and present danger. I mean, in this really simple, clean example, realistically, we don't. Now, Shank, this is one of the weirder things we've got here. Oliver Wendell Holmes. What is Oliver Wendell Holmes? Now, this is what you did for her. This one should be easy. Oliver Wendell Holmes, in the course of making his decision, he comes up with an analogy, an example of when speech should not be allowed. What great hell is his example? Cindy, what's his example? What example does he use to say, here's a good crystalline example? What does he say? Does he give an example in which he said, look, if somebody were to say this kind of speech in this particular situation, clearly it would be a bad thing. Bad things are going to happen. Cindy, I'll come back to you in a bit, but again, Jack can help her out. Crying fire in the theater. So somebody shouts fire in a crowded movie theater. Gently, do we even know who the speaker is? No, it's a stranger. Unknown. Somebody screams fire. Are you likely to believe him, not believe him? Probably believe him. The audience, strangers as well. By the way, strangers in a dark theater where you don't even know what's going on, are you even more likely to believe? Yeah. So what are you going to do, Jacqueline?
We're going to take it seriously and going to run through the exit.
And is anybody else going to run for the exits?
Yes. And the people are going to get hurt.
Yeah, and it's in a dark theater. Folks, the big picture is you're going to get a stampede. People are going to get hurt. I mean, it is pretty clean that one. And by the way, would it help? Cindy, let me come back to you at this point. Would it help if somebody else jumped up in this theater and said, no, there is no fire? Would that help? Do you think everybody would stop? You think everybody would just then turn around and say, oh, I heard a second voice, let's all sit down and keep watching the movie? Do you think there still might be a stampede? Okay, so is allowing more speech going to be the solution to our problem here? Do we have time to reflect on this? Do we have time to reflect on this? It's not going to help. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, clear and present danger, you better believe it. Now, by the way, you've got to give Oliver Wendell Holmes credit. I mean, he's a genius, sort of. He comes up with a brilliant damn example. And then where does he apply it? To whom does he apply it? Sir, what's the speech? Dylan.
He applies it to a guy who sent out anti-war pamphlets.
And what did those pamphlets say? By the way, what exactly did they say?
Don't go off and fight the war.
Yeah. Do not resist. You are being drafted. Don't go. Resist the World War I draft. By the way, is it his opinion?
Yep.
Yeah. Let's keep going. So who is the speaker? Who is Mr. Schenck? Who is Mr. Schenck? Mike, who is Mr. Schenck?
Schenck is he's just a random person on the street who doesn't want to go to fight war.
Fair enough. He is a regular schmo. He's not a government official. Alex, keep going. What else?
He's a socialist.
He's a socialist. Are socialists popular in 1918, 1919, in the wake of the Russian Revolution of 1917? Now, I know you all had Ms. Johnson, Debs, yes, yay, Debs, I know, it's on my t-shirt. But come on, let's face it, he never was going to win. Sorry. Okay. Audience, let's see, 15,000 people get this flyer. And what do you reckon, Joey, what do you think most of these young men, 18 years old, they've been drafted, they're ready to go to war, and then one day they get this flyer. What do you think they're likely to do?
I would throw out the flyer. Probably go to war. I'd probably go to the draft rather than.
Yeah. I mean, let's be very clear. 15,000 flyers to draftees, and let's put this in the big picture. They, like you, Joey, they probably disregarded it. Why? It's a popular war at this point.
Also, socialists seem kind of weird.
They're weird. I'm getting this message from somebody who I can't trust anyways. For the record, it is a winning war. You know, wars that we win do tend to be popular, surprise, surprise. And it's a major war. By the way, and let's come back, one quick last thought in terms of, Joey, let's back to you. You get this flyer. Is it an immediate? Are you going to just like run out of the house and scream, I'm not going to draft, no way?
No.
Might you actually turn around and ask somebody and say, what's up with this? Yeah. I mean, is this an immediate situation that is like a crying fire in a theater? It's really funny. He comes up with a brilliant test, and he proceeds to apply it in the most odd of circumstances. I mean, what's the worst thing that can happen? What's the catastrophe? What is the danger if Mr. Schenck prevails with this message?
Well, if the war were to go south, and that message would stay in the soldiers' heads, and it would definitely hurt troop morale. Not to mention they could spread it, even though it is only 15,000, they can still spread it around.
Fair point. Absolutely. And in theory, the true worst case is not only do all those 15,000 suddenly hold up in arms and they turn around and they infect the morale. Yeah, you're right. The worst case could be pretty horrible. But it's not probably terribly likely, and it's not terribly immediate. Okay, Joey, you said you were going to go and talk to other people, you know, restricting Mr. Schenck's memo as opposed to letting other people talk about it. This, you know, put it this way, here is what is so weird. And it is mystifying and not mystifying. The fear of dissent, the fear of communism, the 1920s, 1919 for Schenck. The Russian Revolution has just happened. We are going to take a really legitimate test and sort of use it in an odd circumstance. Okay, I'm moving fast. I apologize for that, because I do want to come full circle with this. New York Times versus the U.S. What's the speech? What's the speech? Herschel, what's the speech?
They published the Pentagon Papers.
The Pentagon Papers. And for the record, the Pentagon Papers say what in short? Herschel, what do they say? I mean, the nutshell version. They're about a war, right?
Yeah, the Pentagon's involvement in
Okay, so they're saying that we got into Vietnam for bad reasons. I mean, that's a little bit simplistic, but we shouldn't be in this war. Who's this? I'm going to move real fast here. I apologize. Who's the speaker? The New York Times. Who's the audience? Millions of readers. What's the big picture? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? Jonathan, actually, let's come back to you. It's a funny thing. What would happen to morale?
It would definitely be damaged.
And in fact, was it? Yeah. But so let's see. Then we proceeded to lose the war. We lost morale. But then again, it was already an unpopular war. And last I checked, we lost it, didn't we? Yeah. And in fact, not only did we lose the war, the republic still continues, last I checked as well. So maybe it's not like losing World War II or World War I. We might even just call it a minor war. Is more speech going to help? Yeah. Is it a clear and present danger? No. Sorry to go so quickly, but now let's come to the chalk bomb. The school newspaper wants to publish this article. We're going to take a nice, interesting recipe, and we're going to mix up some recycled textbooks, some chalk, some dietary coke, and we will produce an atomic bomb. Okay, we've now done it 6 times. Let's plug in, let's play with this. What is the message? Andy, what is the content?
Content on how to make a bomb.
How to make a bomb. A bomb recipe. And for the record, the speaker, real quick, let's do, Abe, the speaker. Who's the speaker?
The teacher?
Okay, the teacher, and my fault, you weren't here yesterday, so I don't know if you actually got the document, my fault. Teacher and Camille, who else is the speaker, arguably?
Student.
Okay,
Newspaper.
okay, so we have a student newspaper in this case. And who is the audience? Let's see, new voice, Yuri.
Faculty and staff.
Faculty and staff. Do you know how many copies of the school newspaper they picked up? I just found out this morning. It's
Like, I'm on the newspaper, I should probably know. But,
yes, you should.
Maybe
Don't
like,
come joke.
like 1,500 per.
Like 2,500 apparently, according to your editor. Go figure. 2,500. It's not millions. I mean, again, just by comparison, it's not millions. Isn't it more like, I mean, it's a handful. A rebuttal to that, anybody? Only 2,500 people are going to get it. What's the big stinking deal? Seema, what's the big stinking deal?
The people who get it, get it, can spread it to anyone in the world.
How?
Posting it online, making it public.
Okay. I mean, here's why it's really curious. 2,500 with modern technique, would the same logic apply? Oh, man. So Seema, let me get this straight. How many people can now see this? The recipe on how to make a bomb? Millions. And by the way, strictly here in Brooklyn? Strictly here in the US? Okay, man. Let's not, I mean, good gracious. Online, clearly, this message is not going to stay put. And remember, I mean, come on, with the technology, one person spreads it onward. If 2,499 people say we think this is a bad idea, we will keep a wraps on this, and one says, oh, cherry Coke, I have some cherry Coke, let me get some chalk. Whoa. I mean, it only takes one. Now, here's why, I mean, in a way, the big picture, let's see, students, some of them like to experiment. Students, you are young, you are impressionable, you like to experiment. Oh boy. Maybe one of you says, oh, let's try it. Is more speech going to help? Okay, here's, by the way, it is funny. I don't think I told you the result of the Progressive Magazine case, did I? The basis for this example. Progressive Magazine says we have the recipe to make an atomic bomb. We want to publish. The government of the United States said we are going to prevent that from happening. They went ahead and published anyways in Britain. Copies are available for like £2.99, whatever the hell it was in England, and they are readily available, at which point the United States drops their suit, and what's the point at this point? So yes, for the record, if you want to go out and get a recipe to make a bomb. Now, whether it's accurate is a question, and whether you can get the ingredients, of course, is a far, far, far more difficult question. But for the record, it's out there. They have provoked a discussion, you better believe it, about this idea of nuclear secrets. So ladies and gentlemen, arguably would help, but I mean, here's the problem, I mean, and here's why this is a very unbalanced example, and I know it is. The damage here is so spectacular. One person can easily, from my example, kill millions. I mean, let's just face it, the harm I presented to you was so staggeringly great that it's not really balanced. It's not a balanced equation. So therefore, I have, because Lord knows we haven't done enough examples today, I have one more for you. Okay. And I'll tell you the basis for my example. I mean, there is a source for it. But let me give you the following hypothetical situation. A former student of Mr. Kahn sends out an email to every single one of Mr. Kahn's former students. And here is so that's the speaker, that's the audience. The audience is, a mix of all my former students, Mr. Kahn, of course, not me. And it says the following. Remember the bad grades Kahn gave you? Remember how he used to use that wooden stick and joke about getting beaten up with it or using it as a gun? Here is Mr. Kahn's address. Let's show him how it's done. Period. End of message. You are a member of the Supreme Court of the United States of America. The other 8 justices are divided 4-4. It is now your choice.
Yeah.
What say you? Should the sender of this message be sent to jail for, I mean, we can figure out whatever the exact, but I mean, conspiracy to, some conspiracy charge to harm, to assault, whatever it is, or is this protected free speech? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, nose desk, real quick. Nose desk. Nose desk. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you have one of 3 options. You either say it is protected speech. Number 2, the speaker goes to jail. 3, I am undecided. Okay, option 1, God, I forgot which one was my number 1. Number 1, speaker goes to jail. Speaker goes to jail. Raise your hand. Speaker goes to jail. Okay, hands down. Speaker is protected. This is not a clear and present danger. Hands up. Hands up. Okay, and round 3, I am undecided. Okay, hands down, heads up, heads up. The numbers are not perfect. The numbers are not perfect. It's not what I would ideally like it to be, but by the time I'm done messing around recreating the hypotheticals, I'll tell you what the numbers were. The numbers is roughly about 12-ish of you say you are undecided. Can I ask the 12 of you, and can I ask you know who you are? So can I ask you not to change opinion because you see more people going one direction than the other? Can I ask the roughly 12 of you who said, look, I'm pretty undecided. I'm coming with an open mind. Can I ask the 12 of you to go to the back in a moment? So wait, I'll tell you what's going to happen. Can I ask the 12 of you to gather up all your belongings, head to the back of the room. You are going to have approximately 3 minutes in which to come up with questions to ask of counsel. Okay, folks, please just listen for a moment. Can I ask, now, it was a small group who said free speech this is speech that should be protected. But there's enough of you, there's about 7 of you-ish, and I think you guys, you know what? Numbers don't mean a whole lot, do they? If you got a good argument, you got a good argument. Can I ask the roughly 7 of you to do the following? Can I ask the roughly 7 of you to gather up your stuff and meet right over here? Can I ask, therefore, and hang on, and then everybody else, basically, we're going to just, for speed purposes, there are going to be a handful of people here who say no. Convicted, go to jail. And then there's going to be a group over here, convicted, go to jail. I'm going to give you 3 minutes to pull together your thoughts and your arguments for whichever. Hang on. And, sorry. And I know we're tight. We got 12 minutes. We'll go quick. And then I'm going to do the following. I want to also, just because I know some people don't always get into this, I'm going to pull up 2 counsel, volunteer and random. Like I did last time with the sticks, volunteer and a random. So, and then we'll come on up here, and we should probably have about 3 minutes, and then 3 minutes counter, and if we got 1 minute of rebuttal each way, that'll be groovy. Okay, questions? Vámonos. Start thinking about how are you going to defend, how are you going to defend. Again, quickly come up with ideas, you guys again. Free speech, you want me dead? You bastards. Okay. Start coming up with questions. Again, obviously you guys need to pepper them with questions. That's going to make it more interesting. Give them 15 seconds to sort of get their settled, but then hit them with questions. Just so we can get these people to 2 points. We got one man. I'll put that one. Give him time. Mike. More men for your team. And Dylan. Dylan's over here. Now we've got Camille. Okay, 1 minute. 1 minute. Think about it. Okay, with both here. Okay. 30 seconds. 30 At this point, no. I mean, just one part. At this point, I'm sure that question was I mean, you can 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Council, please over there. Council, over here, please.
Yuri's on the voting. Let's go challenge. Yuri, get it done.
Okay, go. Folks, have a seat. Have a seat. Real quick. Heads. The government goes first. Heads, it is the government prosecuting. They go to jail. Go first.
To ladies and gentlemen of the judges. Our arguments for the reasoning that it is an illegal act to incite this kind of violence, and especially in this situation, is that with a mass email sent to a large group of people about inciting a particular violence to a particular person, is that you don't really know the state of mind of most people getting that email, and on the off chance that one of them will receive it and act upon it, I mean, you only need one.
If one of those people that got the email, I mean, if they're already mad enough at Mr. Kahn for the bad grades, you don't think they would have went out of their way like before to find the address and do it themselves instead of?
Well,
do you think it would really incite someone?
He was provided not only the address, but he was provided with the sense of, like, not that what he's doing might not be necessarily wrong. If you're about to commit a wrongdoing and you're told by someone before it that it might be a correct act, then instead of straying you away from doing that act, or just reinforce it, and by giving the address, he like shows that he has the necessary means for it.
Counsel, what sway does the emailer have over his former peers?
The emailer has the sway of, because, you know, many people think of like, oh, whether I should do this, whether I should do that, and they just don't act upon it. But the sway that the emailer has is that he's giving him a sense of duty, rather than just him acting on his own emotions.
You're the Supreme Court. You don't raise your hand. You interrupt
Do you
whatever
have
you
an
want.
issue with the fact that they're providing an address or the fact that they're saying they should do something?
I think a combination of both.
Well, isn't address public information?
The address is public information, but combined with the incentive of killing him. I mean, the address wasn't just there.
Isn't the threat too vague?
It's not really that vague. I mean, if someone
what if the emailer was known as like the class clown and nobody ever took him seriously?
Well, then
Would that make a
if
difference?
one person takes him seriously enough, then you're not going to be like, oh, you know, you can't be like, oh, I was joking. If the crime happened, then it
What
happened.
if no one takes him seriously?
If no one takes him seriously, then it's not a crime.
So then
As long as the crime is committed.
But doesn't the outcome of the actual act not matter when you're deciding this?
Well, it matters in the level of criminality and how severe the punishment should be.
If you think someone,
If I may, just to give an equal opportunity to opposing counsel. Hopefully we'll get a minute rebuttal. Opposing counsel. Hold the thought, again, we can get them back, but again, just to give them fair time.
Thank you.
Counsel.
Good afternoon. First of all, the reason why we believe that the defendant would not be guilty of
I'm sorry. Guilty of inciting violence or whatever. I'm sorry, inciting violence is because first of all, the speech was vague. It doesn't say explicitly what the former student should do. And unlike the relationship with the mob boss and a hitman, the former students don't have an obligation to the.
Counselor, isn't fire in a theater also a vague statement? You're simply saying that there's a fire in a theater, you're not specifying where or how. Isn't this comparable to that?
That's true, but I don't believe that they're on the same path, because when you call fire in a theater, it's like the first instinct a person gets when they hear fire is, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. But in this situation, I don't think it's like the people who received the email, it wasn't something that was instant. And not only that, but there was no clear and present danger, because it's still an abstract idea. Like, it doesn't say, oh, tomorrow at 5 o'clock or next week at 3 o'clock we're going to do this. It's just an idea that, oh, we should do this. And it doesn't even explicitly say what they're going to do. They said,
what do you make of opposing counsel's argument that all it takes is just one person to take him seriously and they'll go out and do it whenever it's right?
I think that that's a true argument, but the truth is that in any situation, there can be that one person. It's always possible to have that one person who's going to take you seriously. But I think you have to keep in mind, like, what are the chances of it happening? How likely is it? If it's not that likely, then yeah, there's still a possibility that someone will do it.
Well, isn't it likely that they're likely to do it if someone has already gone down and gotten the address and emailed everyone?
People did get the address, but that doesn't mean that someone is going to take it seriously. Also, you have to keep in mind that there's a lot of time that has passed. And after time, someone might, it's not very likely that students are going to hold that grudge about Kahn giving them that 65 or 55 after, years.
Yeah, so let me ask you a similar question. Is the person sending out this email, is he a moral authority, is he a spiritual authority? What sway does he have over the people he's emailing?
I don't believe he has any sway, really. It says it's anonymous. It doesn't even tell you who it is. It just says this former student sent out this letter. It doesn't tell you specifically who it is. It doesn't tell you what kind of influence that person had in the school. It's just a vague person.
Counsel, but you said there's a small chance that someone might go out and do it, but since there's at least some chance to do it, shouldn't measures be taken to prevent an innocent person from being killed or being hurt, even if the chance is very minuscule?
Measures should be taken, but to be really honest, with any circumstance that you can possibly think of, there's a likelihood that someone will take it seriously. For instance, with Mr. Kahn's example of him being a teacher and saying, "Oh, go kill Joe Biden," there is a small possibility that someone will take him seriously and try at least to get through with this. You don't know what a person's mental capacity is.
Killing Joe Biden, I mean, you would have to go all the way to Washington, D.C. You're not going to be able to get to the vice president. Obviously, most sane and probably most insane people are going to think that it's pretty much impossible to get to the vice president. However, Mr. Kahn, he's a normal citizen. Don't you think it's possible to get to his house if you really wanted to?
It's a bit easier to get in contact with him than it is with Joe Biden, but when you really look at it, after high school, people go to college, people go to a variety of places, and it's not likely that this email is attacking just the people who live near Mr. Kahn. You can be somewhere in Oregon. You're not going to go out of your way to come back to New York City to kill Mr. Kahn.
The document in question here is an email. Is it possible to infer emotion from plain text? Can we determine the state of mind that the person who was writing the email was in?
I don't think so. I think that when you, because the person is just sending an email, you don't even know if the person is making a joke. You don't know what their intent was behind it. It's just words. You're not having that person face to face, seeing them, hearing them, and being able to experience what kind of motives they had.
Okay, the red light goes on. Supreme Court, we got about 1 minute. Confer amongst yourselves for 10 seconds, and then let's get your vote. All right, so we are well, they're trying to tell me. What do you want? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Supreme Court, how many of you, let's just do a quick vote, we're running out of time. How many of you say this person, the sender of the email, is going off to jail? Raise your hand. How How many of you say the sender of the email should be free to go do damage to Mr. God, I hate you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Tell you what, make sure I get those permission forms tomorrow. Thanks back in the